When someone says road, the first thing that probably comes to mind is the local paved road you use every day, which isn't very interesting depending on where you live. But there are some roads that barely fit the definition because of the extremely harsh and treacherous places that they go through. From narrow roads hanging off thousands of feet of sheer cliff walls to bridges so high once you see them, you'll be looking for something to hold on to. Check out these most insane roads in the world. Siberian Road to Yakutsk. This highway to Yakutsk has also been called by many the Russian Highway from Hell. This road is part of the Russian Federal Highway that stretches from Moscow, Russia, and then all the way to the eastern part of the country to the city of Yakutsk. The final leg before getting to Yakutsk is called Lena Highway, and it's over 600 miles long. Through the majority, the Highway from Hell stretches next to the Lena River, and even though it's called a highway, it's actually an unpaved dirt road. The highway was built by the Soviets during the 50s, and like most of their infrastructural projects, they were in a hurry, and the important thing was that it gets done, without too much worry about the actual practicality. Yakutsk is the capital of Siberia and is the coldest place on Earth during the winter, as temperatures in January go below minus 40 degrees on average. What's surprising is that this is great for the highway, as the road hardens completely and drivers can drive around 40 miles per hour on it. The real problem is during summer when the temperature and humidity rise and the road becomes wet. Cars and trucks get stuck in deep mud, creating traffic jams with hundreds of vehicles, and people spend days on the highway stuck deep in the mud, with temperatures going over 91 degrees Fahrenheit. Seeing tipped-over vehicles is a common sight, and the worst thing is that there aren't any alternative roads to Yakutsk through Siberia. Zojila Pass, Kashmir. Zojila is a roughly 5.5-mile-long road in India that goes through the western Himalayas, and the road sits at an elevation of 11,574 feet. Zojila is a dirt road for the most part, and has two narrow tracks that run on the edge of the cliffs, swirling through the most extreme mountain regions in the world. What's even worse is that the road has no guardrails, no traffic signs, and there is a constant issue of recurring landslides. As if this wasn't enough, the weather conditions are also very difficult with heavy snowfall during the winter and during the spring. The glaciers on the mountains melt, creating a slick and muddy road, and there are many landslides. In 2009, 350 people were stuck on the pass for several days due to heavy snowfall. Anyone who dares drive this treacherous road better come with incredible confidence in driving skill and a good four-wheel drive vehicle. James Dalton Highway. Alaska is home to some of the most extreme roads in the world, but one in particular stands out from the rest, the James Dalton Highway. This is one of the most isolated and loneliest highways in the world, used mostly by truckers. The highway stretches from Fairbanks, Alaska, all the way to the Arctic Ocean. It was officially finished in 1974, and the main purpose of the road was to support the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline and provide a supply route. It was named after the engineer James Dalton, who supervised the construction of the road. The highway is exactly 413 miles, with only 3 small towns along the route. Around 80% of the road is completely unpaved, and some parts are so primitive that no smaller vehicles can get through easily. Being one of the northernmost highways in the world, the temperatures can get really low, and everyone who decides to go on this route needs to carry proper supplies and medical equipment. Logging Road. There are many logging roads across the world that could find their place on this list. However, after taking our time to consider which are the craziest, we decided that the one in France, Hautes Alps, is definitely the winner. More accurately, the road is located in La Roche-de-Rem, deep in the mountains. This logging road stretches 2,985 feet above sea level. The whole time you're on this one, the road is swirling through the mountains, surrounded by huge rocks and trees. But this road is so narrow that there is barely room for a single truck. Despite this, logging trucks pass here precariously on a daily basis. Los Caracoles Pass, Chile. Argentina and Chile have a mutual border that is over 4,970 feet long. There are many border crossings, most of them located in the Andes, and one of the most spectacular ones is the Los Caracoles Pass, also called Paso de los Libertadores. This is another pass that reaches an elevation of over 10,500 feet, and it is an important road that connects the Mendoza region in Argentina with Santiago, the capital of Chile. The pass is one of the most winding roads in the whole world, and when seen from the air, it looks like a long stretching coil. Los Caracoles is located on the Chilean side, and the name means the snails, as it has over 20 crazy turns that swirl into each other while being located on an extremely narrow location where vehicles have often tipped over. 7 Mile Bridge. The 7 Mile Bridge is located in the Florida Keys, and this is one of the most iconic bridges in the US. As the name suggests, the bridge is over 7 miles long, and it connects the Little Duck Key and Knights Key. The bridge has 2 tracks and it stretches out through an open sea, while at the same time being one of the longest bridges in the whole world. It was built from 1978 to 1982, and the bridge was featured in several movies. The bridge itself is not dangerous, but being on the sea in Florida makes it a forefront for hurricanes, and nobody wants to be on a bridge when a hurricane hits. In fact, the bridge was readjusted to make it sturdier so that it doesn't fall off due to all the storms. Sidu River Bridge. This bridge is located in China in the Hubei province and was officially opened for traffic in November 2009. When this happened, it also claimed the title of the highest bridge in the world. The Sidu River Bridge stretches across the Sidu River Valley almost 500 meters high at its tallest point. If someone fell from this bridge, he or she would reach terminal velocity, meaning their fall speed would eventually stop increasing from falling for such a long time. It is the only bridge in the world where such a phenomenon is possible. The bridge is part of the G50 Huyu Highway, and it connects Chongqing and Shanghai. Because of its height, the bridge is often surrounded by mist during colder weather, and moving clouds often surround the bridge and reduce visibility drastically, making it a very dangerous road. Millau Viaduct. If you're curious what bridge holds the title for the highest in the world, it's the Millau Viaduct, which stretches over the Tarn River in southern France, through the Massif Central Mountains. The purpose of building this road was to help reduce holiday traffic between Spain and France. The bridge is over 1.5 miles long and is 1,125 feet high from its base to the top, making it the tallest bridge in the world, and even taller than the Eiffel Tower. The construction of the bridge cost over $450 million and is definitely a scary one. Royal Gorge Bridge, USA. The Royal Gorge Bridge is a tourist attraction in Canyon City, Colorado, and was opened in 1929. For a long time, it was the highest bridge, but in 2003 it lost that title. The height of the bridge is 1,050 feet, and even though there are now others that are taller, it is still an amazing sight and one of the craziest bridges in the world. It stretches above the Arkansas River, and many people use it for bungee jumping and other various extreme sports. The sight from the bridge is truly amazing and scary. It consists out of more than 1,200 wooden planks throughout its length. It has a very thin deck compared to newer bridges and doesn't have a stiffening truss, and this is why all of the jiggles and shakes from the wind and passing vehicles is highly noticeable. Standing on this bridge can be really scary, as it sometimes seems like it will collapse. The Sidu River Bridge might be the highest in the world at the moment, but the Royal Gorge Bridge had that record for the longest period, 75 years, and it is still the tallest in the US. 52 Tunnels, Italy. The Strada della 52 Gallerie, which is also known as the Road of 52 Tunnels, was an engineering marvel, especially for its time, and was built for the Kingdom of Italy. This road winds between Bocchetta Campiglia and the Porta del Pasubio, and crosses the southern slope of the mountain with its deep canyons and sheer rock faces. It was strategically built outside of the range of the Austro-Hungarian artillery, and its implementation was of great strategic importance because it allowed communication and transfer of supplies by mule from the base to the summit area of Mount Vesubio. It was called a masterpiece of military engineering and boldness, considering the conditions and the era it was built in. In fact, the speed at which it was built is remarkable. Work began on February 6, 1917, and it was completed that same year in November. It had to include year-round access, be located outside the range of enemy artillery, and had to be accessible by mule. These were all problems faced by a similar road named Skarubi. which could only be accessed by motor vehicle. Those responsible for its construction were the 33rd Miners Company of the Italian Army, along with 600 laborers. 9 months is an impressive construction speed, considering that it's 21,506 feet long, with 7,480 feet divided into 52 tunnels, which were excavated from solid rock. Each tunnel is unique and has a name and number. Tunnel 20 is carved out of a tower of rock, and to overcome the difference in height, the small road twists around itself like a corkscrew. And on leaving the 47th tunnel, which is the highest part of the road, there's a breathtaking panoramic view where you can see the winding road that makes its way up the side of the mountain. It might seem like a great place to travel to and check out, but it's also listed as one of the most dangerous roads in the world. And even mountain biking is prohibited here due to the number of fatal accidents. Hiking is allowed though, and making your way through the old, dark, and creepy tunnels is a surreal experience. Grand Goulet's Road. The Les Grands Goulets in France is a legendary stretch of road that was built between 1843 and 1854 and is carved out of the cliffs of Vercors Massif, which consists of a rugged plateau and mountains. In the early 19th century, there was no passable roads for horse-drawn vehicles, and the 5,000 residents living in Vercors were feeling isolated from the rest of the world. So it was decided that a road needed to be built that would connect Vercors to the south. It would be a mind-boggling investment of manpower, time, and money. Even with today's technology, the construction of such a road is inconceivable. The methods used to build the road were perilous and involved hanging down the side of the mountain on a rope ladder and throwing dynamite into the rock, and swinging out of the way just in time to avoid the blast. 10 years after the construction began, the road was finally ready. The space between the two mountains is unnerving at some points. Oncoming cars can be very dangerous here, as there is not enough room for them to pass. Higher up in the gorge, the road often has no guardrails to stop a car from plummeting over the edge and down the sheer mountain face. This road was cut into a cliff, and in some places, the sun never shines, and the rock is mossy and wet. After 156 years of leading travelers through the mountains with its winding and narrow road, the French government was forced to permanently close the historic road because of a series of fatal accidents. Not even cyclists or hikers are allowed to venture its long and winding routes. This scenic ghost road is now bypassed by a tunnel, and it sits abandoned and untraveled. Passage du Gois. The Passage du Gois is a part of the D948 road that runs through France on its Atlantic coast. The road connects the mainland of France with a local island, and it literally stretches on the coast. The causeway is 2.5 miles long, and it isn't always passable, and the reason for this is its placement on the coast. When the tide is high, the road is completely flooded with water, and no vehicles can pass through. This is why it's not uncommon to see cars go through the area with boats on top, so that passengers can instantly get out to safety in case they get flooded. The causeway can be passed for only an hour and a half before and after the lowest tide. It has been used this way since the 16th century, and now it's mostly tourists heading for the island who go through the Passage du Gois. We hope you enjoyed the video. Which one of these roads would you dare travel? Let us know in the comments, and if you like the video, then click and subscribe and turn on notifications, and you'll be the first to know when a new video comes out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.